Hey, we're live.
We're live. Slight adjustment to the panel.
Hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Hi. We're here with Jared Treadley, Erica Fortgang, and Midnight, maybe, if her puppy dog makes an appearance in the background. I'm Joanne Weaver.
Possibly.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Bring us up to speed. We were going to have a guest today. Things happen.
We're going to have a guest today. Yeah. So Nick Gould, who's the best? Nick, we miss you. We miss you today.
Miss you, Nick.
Yeah, but Nick had an unforeseen circumstance pop up today, so he, with heavy heart, cannot make the stream today. But we will have him on later for sure.
He'll be back
with a vengeance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of just doing this live, right? We have to kind of roll with the punches a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're here. We're ready to go. This was in the calendar. Live and die by the calendar. So here I am.
Yeah, we're not going to miss this for the world. Yeah.
Well, who else is here?
Yeah, please chime in. You know we love
Please
it. Where you calling in from?
Where are you going in from?
Joanne's favorite line. Where in the world are you? Where in the world is Carmen San Diego? We'd love to get a vibe. And obviously we have a bit more of an open floor today to really dive into really specific things that maybe people want to talk about, get some key topics going that are front of mind. Have a vent, have a share your wins. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're here for all of it.
What sucks. You can share what sucks. You know.
Right. We were talking about that before we just signed on just now, that we've all had some challenges this week. Nick included, obviously, is having challenges today. So we've all got them. We're all working through them. If you've got a challenge, drop it to the Brains Trust. We'll see what we can do with it for you.
Yeah. We'll put it in the hopper. We'll let it marinate, talk some things through.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We can help with. Ryan, Elizabeth, Austin, Brooklyn, Chicago.
Oh,
love it.
Yeah. I think Ryan Klein, I feel like you've been to like almost every single one of these.
Consistent. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Super attendee.
I love that. So thank you.
Yeah. And Liz Pizzuti. Hello, Liz. Oh, it's so great to have you here too.
And
Ryan. Yeah.
If you see each other in the comments there too, feel free to maybe connect with each other as well. If you don't already know each other, drop a little connect, post stream, say good day to each other.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually say good day, but this is the Design Unfiltered community. So we've all got common interests.
Yeah. And common names, apparently. We got 2 Ryans and 2 Liz's.
That was the memo for today. You need to bring a name partner.
Your little name twin. So Ryan Bazinet, I hope I'm pronouncing your name, Ryan, correctly. It might be Bazinet. It might be the French pronunciation. But I just did a wonderful interview with him. So he's working at JobQuest, which is a really cool sounding tool. It's like an AI resumes kind of reading tool, and then it matches that against a job description to see what your percent match is. It's your job match score, I learned. Okay. It's a really cool, and we can maybe touch on something like that today too, just like kind of your candidate market fit and like what's a good match. But it was such a fun interview, and it just posted today, and it was way less cringy than I thought it was.
Fair enough.
Okay, thanks for editing out all the little bits, the little cringy bits.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, eager to see that.
Oh, thanks.
Jim, Shanak.
Jim Casey, hello, Shanak.
My friends.
Ask people like how is everyone feeling? Like, can we do like an emoji pulse check here? Like, February 19th. Where and you guys too, Joanne, Jared. I know we were all venting before this, so it's hump day. It's Wednesday.
It is hump day.
It is.
I'm gonna put a little happy face in there. I'm actually having a pretty good day. Oh, that's Design X Talent. That's me.
That's us.
All right. That's us. Yeah,
That's
I'm not sure how any of that
I
works.
might have like line, like the smiley with the line, like
Oh,
you know, so
that kind of one. Something like that.
That's like my favorite one, especially when you send it when it's solo, so it's big. It's like,
yeah,
I love that.
Okay. Yeah. I'm terrible with emojis. I think I don't really use them at all for anything. But
my thumbs up
yeah,
are
I remain optimistic about all things. I think in our roles we navigate a bit of a roller coaster on almost a daily basis, not just weekly or monthly, but almost daily. So yeah, riding that roller coaster and just trying to remain optimistic. I have a few little tricks that when I have maybe a negative something going that's not ideal, a bit of a low point, then I will remind myself of the good things I got going on. Give myself a little like, oh, remember there's that, be excited about that. This person's really interesting, exciting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to navigate some tough losses at times. That is the nature of our game, I think.
Yeah. And it's so easy how we just get like acclimated to like good things where it's like first it feels amazing. Like we got these surround sound speakers with our TV here. And the first couple nights we're like, oh my God, like we're watching Dune. And it's just this big dramatic thing. It's like, wow. And after 3 days, we're just like, yeah, this is what it sounds like.
This is how we live now.
This is it. Yeah. So it's just remembering, it's like, how far have you come?
Right. Right. Yeah. Remember that time without the speakers?
Yeah. It's like listening out of a tin can, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of West Coast as well. Hi, Leslie.
Yeah.
Some great emojis there. A little bit of sweating, a little bit of straight line emoji.
Nice.
Shane. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Shane Rogers. Oh, Shane does have the smiley face with the kind of straight line. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a good one.
I can relate. I think I feel similar to that at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not a frown. So, you know, I feel that's a win.
It's true.
At the moment.
It's true.
A roadblock.
I want to put a question up. Somebody, a LinkedIn user, sorry, we can't see your name, but are we talking specifically about hiring/design careers or any topics? I'm glad you asked that question. We are design recruiters, so we do focus on, you know, UX design amongst other things. So that, you know, kind of naturally comes up. I think a lot of people in this group are designers, but certainly all the things that, you know, most of the things we talk about can be applied to any sort of discipline, right? So we're talking about, you know, we're hearing from you, like, what are your challenges? It could be networking, it could be interviewing, it could be doing that dreaded panel round, you know, how do you, or it could be, you know, how do you, like, you know, mindset sort of things. So I think that's really broad. I think it can be used across a lot of different careers. So we're glad you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Who else is here? Leslie Hampton from San Francisco. Jim Casey has a topic for discussion. Thanks for kicking us off, Jim. What changes are you seeing in product recruiting that could lend insight to those seeking PM opportunities in this ever-changing world?
You guys do a lot more. I exclusively only hire designers. So
I've done a couple of product roles. I don't know too much. Joanne, I do to you.
Yeah. So yeah, we do a fair amount of product. I think the things that we're seeing in product are basically the same things that we're seeing across the board in other disciplines. So I think we're just seeing, you know, I was going to say a shortage of jobs. There are a shortage of jobs compared to a couple of years ago. I think we are. And I feel like I've been saying this for months where it's like, oh, we're starting to see the green shoots come back and we're seeing some incoming. Still feel like that's true. It definitely doesn't feel like it's, you know, as robust as it was a couple of years ago by far. So we're still in like a tight moment. But I feel like with product recruiting, like any recruiting, I feel like there is, you know, to kind of say some like challenging things about it. I think it's the interview processes are just really long. Sometimes, like, I think clients sometimes feel like, oh, I've got this embarrassment of riches. I have all these people I can choose from, and there's going to be all these people in the market because these great people have gotten laid off. And so I can just take my time and make sure I'm getting somebody that checks off 25 out of 20 boxes. So there's, I know from talking with you, Jared and Erica, like a lot of our role is educating clients around, how to make a hire efficiently. And, subtext, it's not to meet as many people as you can that are just like busting out of, having so many things that are similar to the job. It's like, what's trainable? Like, what are the must-haves? What are the nice-to-haves on top of that? Understand that candidates are still interviewing out there. It's not like there's not interviews happening. So sometimes we'll get candidates that have like, multiple offers or at least one other offer. So there's like timing constraints and things like that. We often do, I feel like the comp, depending on the company, I feel like the comp can be comparable to what it's been. Maybe not, again, 2022 levels, but it's kind of like normalizing. And then any client that is trying to underpay, we just always try to say, look, like it's not a great strategy. Even if somebody has been laid off for 6 months, they're desperate for a role, they will take a big pay cut. It's not a winning strategy because in 6 months or 9 months or whenever the market starts to right itself again, they're a flight risk, right? And you want to make sure that you're really investing in those people.
Can I ask, when you guys do like your client screens, what 3 things, usually when I talk to someone, I always say like, what are your top 3 must-haves? Like if you had to choose, if you had a list of 12 things, they're kind of like a little bit not correct or what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, something, but I really go back and I say like, give me your top 3 requirements. Like what are the must-haves, like the no-brainers. I can't speak today.
We gotcha.
What is it for you guys?
It's probably one level deeper on that. So once you get those 3 must-haves, I'm like, well, what's the signals that you look for to give you confirmation that that person has that? How do you get confidence that you're receiving a signal? They must have, exceptional experience getting to know the user. Okay, how would you get signal on that? How would you know that from the get-go, when I put someone in front of you, how do you know that they've done that? What are you looking for that I can surface for you? So it's often that because, recently I've been working with a lot of non-designers, hiring designers, and that is a really fun time.
Well, I think
a different time.
I think, yes, that is probably the next layer. I think the first 3 things typically come down to like location, salary, and type of background, right? For location, I think, I don't know, I'm sure you guys do this as well, but I think for other people, when we have like a new role that comes in, and the requirements are like a laundry list of 25 things, I like to personally go through and do a search based on those things and then deliver that data back to the client. They have to be in this city, they have to have this much experience, they have to have worked at a big company, have gone to school, blah, 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 that I can go back to them and say, there's 100 people that are correct in this field.
That exist.
That exist.
Yeah.
And they, again, it's timing, right? So then like, let's say half of them are interviewing right now, half of them are happy, or down to 50, right? And it's like, are they interested in you? And is the timing right? So I think using that data is really helpful. And that's why I sort of say, like, let's take off the salary or this location requirement and add in more like the layer.
Yeah. And we'll sometimes show our clients, like if we've done a lot of outreach, like we'll show them, like we'll actually like show them on our screen, on our ATS, like our candidate, our applicant tracking system that has all these charts and graphs. Okay, I've reached out to this many people. We've qualified this many people. So we've kind of like been in some sort of communication with them to pre-qual, like, are they, in the right city? Are they at the right salary range? Are they the right domain expertise, whatever it is they're looking for, which are like the kind of, must-haves. And then how many people did we screen? And then out of those people, how many people did we submit? out of the people that we submitted, how many people are getting interviews? And then of course, down the line, how many people are getting offers, right? So I think sometimes there's power in showing the client just the sheer numbers. Like we're reaching out to this many people, like we're scouring the market this much for you. But I think what's even more powerful is to show the percentage of like, based on the number of people that we've reached out to, how many people are getting back to us? Basically, how saleable is this role? Or, what is the market bearing? Like, are people just in like a, I'm open to looking around mode, or are they kind of scared and like staying put where they are if they're already employed? So I think sometimes showing like, hey, there's a delta between like, here's like what our normal percentage is in terms of like people that want to go for a role, or normal percentage of like people that we submit, they get an interview. If those percentages are off, it's something to look at. Like, hey, like, where is this going? Like, how can we get back on track, right? And that's just sometimes just like a really frank, open discussion with the client. Yeah.
There's a power in those numbers and that data. Hopefully it helps. Sometimes there's clients where they don't care.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sometimes.
I don't care. I just think unicorn.
Yeah, keep going. Keep looking.
Keep going. See them once more.
I see a couple of questions here that both center around the AI space, I guess. Kelly in particular, how do hiring companies treat candidates in relation to AI? Requirements could be a need for an AI pro, but still in its infancy. So how do hiring companies look at the candidates when they know some AI patterns, but maybe not pros? Yeah, great point. You know, we've seen this over the years in all sorts of things. Classic cases of engineers as well. You know, when a new JavaScript framework comes out or something, and a company says, "Oh, we want to hire some React developers that have 5 years React, but React's only been out for 3 years," you know, or 5 years Figma experience, but it only came out 2 years ago. You know, classic things like this. So AI can fall into some of that category too, where people want experience and want these pros, but the reality is it's only been around in varying degrees somewhat recently. In my experience, I'm working with a couple of companies that do have these AI slants and want someone to work on their AI product and tool. And how we seem to be approaching it, or what I try to tease out is like, all right, have you worked on a newer innovation at some point? You know, might not have been AI, but there's been a lot of new innovations over the years, new technologies, new paradigms, new patterns. As a designer, have you navigated a new thing in the past? And how did you navigate that? How did you help get users comfortable with this new paradigm or whatever it might be, this new innovation? Like, can you speak to that and show you've got this framework of how you might approach that? That can give confidence too sometimes. Are you doing something adjacent to AI? Again, it comes back to some of that paradigm. I've designed a software in this space where typically the users do everything manual, but I introduced a whole automated platform, and whether it had AI or not, but it's still a new thing for that user. You had to teach them, you had to kind of educate them, getting them adjusted to this new technology that you were introducing to them. It's along those lines. So yeah, I'm finding I'm going about things that way, the next best thing sometimes. So I look for signals like that a lot of the time. But, you know, I think with AI too, you know, the reality is it has been around a lot longer than maybe what we think and what we know. It's just become more consumer. You know, I've spoken to designers from, you know, AI companies out there now that were working on this tech like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It just wasn't so commonplace. You know, pre-ChatGPT, felt like we didn't really know anything about it much, but it was still there. There were still versions of it.
I mean, IBM Watson was huge in like 2014, 2015. That was all AI.
It's been around for a while. Just wasn't so common practice. So there are people out there with that exposure to it, but I just think it's only become almost consumer grade in the last couple of years, hasn't it? But yeah, I don't know if you guys are working with AI companies or what you're finding in that space and how they're trying to hire designers with AI to work on AI. AI. Say it really fast a few times.
AI. I've only worked with one company that's like expressly an AI company. They build an AI tool. That was about 1.5 years ago. And I think it was still so much in its consumer facing infancy that they weren't really looking for people that had AI experience. It was more just, could you come into the office 5 days a week?
Sweet.
That was tough. And a lot of people said yes, because they were so into learning AI and like working at an AI startup, that we actually got a lot more yeses than I was expecting, which was really interesting. But I think it was more about like, can you work within the kind of domains that we service? So they were for enterprise that focused mostly on like fintech and insurtech and like the logistics space, like shipping and logistics and that kind of thing. So if somebody had experience with that kind of domain expertise, they could parlay that into what they were doing. So, I find that domain expertise is something that companies are looking for across the board, not just with AI, but just like, like what types of user or users is that AI tool servicing, and do you have experience working within that domain? That could be another way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of early AI startups. They're not all asking for previous AI experience. They're looking for complex workflow experience, I think, and like ability to communicate well with like developers and write specs or something, which I know is a PM role also. So it's more that, and just like, I don't know, it hasn't really been like half of AI, because they're looking at people who've maybe done like 1 or 2 tours at a startup as like a solo designer. They've also been at a larger company just to understand like how process works and maybe if they can implement it. So having kind of both worlds, it hasn't been like they must have the AI part. I think a little bit of automation, but not.
And this might be a little bit of a stretch, but just based on what you guys were saying around like what are some adjacent skills that people might have, what do you guys think about like 0 to 1 build skills? Like, I know it's not a direct analogy to that, but I'm just thinking in terms of like, what is the skill set of somebody that can build something out of nothing? It's like they're able to ramp up really quickly. They're able to understand the user really quickly. They're able to like make sense out of nothing. They're able to set process. Like, I just feel like that kind of brain might be really great at like learning a new technology or really deepening their breadth in a technology like AI or, large language models.
Yeah. I think anytime I work with a startup, it's almost table stakes that they have to have done some sort of 0 to 1 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking about a tech company that has an AI slant, they're trying to use AI. If they've got it in their company name, they probably just raise some money. So that's helpful for them. I find that just 0 to 1 alone would not be enough to give signal on adjacency. It would come back to maybe Erica's point too of like industry, subject matter. I think the 0 to 1 is really helpful. But if it was on a new consumer feature and this was a complex B2B SaaS tool, I find that so it's like the 0 to 1 is like pretty much needed for a lot of it, but then there's got to be an addition to that, stacking these things. All these roles we work on it's some sort of combination of stacking multiple requirements together with something that spikes enough to hopefully get it right. Because there's no 10 out of 10 fit. It's no one ever perfect, despite what every company thinks.
There's also a lot of talk about data and understanding data and working with data teams and loving data. Like, so everything is about data and business goals. Really,
what about data? Sorry.
You say data, I say data. Data out there. Should I put a new question up? That was a good segue, right?
Yeah.
Let's sing our way to the next question. Ryan Klein. Ryan says, what's hard to grasp is that while the funnel is so backed up due to the constant layoffs, top companies are taking a long time to hire is what I think you meant to say. You have federal workers and pools no one thought they'd join. Any trends you're seeing lately to really stand out? Thank you, Ryan. It's a great question. You guys want to take a stand?
How to stand out? It's hard. We talk about this for 10 days, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This is networking. I think things to do that you're not doing. I don't know, taking some type of coursework classes, doing some, like redesigns of apps, things that you use daily is helpful. And like showing them, don't say, no, I've redone a Spotify thing. Like people will then think, oh, you worked at Spotify. No, like say something specifically, like I didn't like how this was working, so this is what my version is. But networking is the way. That's the way. I think we've been sort of saying that for a long time, right? It's really hard, and I think like what we just have to remember is that there is a lot of competition out there. It's like it's not you necessarily, and you know, I would always recommend having some people look at your materials, like your resume, your portfolio, other designers. Just get some feedback and get as much feedback as you can. It's probably a little conflicting, but it's helpful to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love what you said about networking. I think networking, it's kind of like you can have this like beautiful resume and portfolio, if that's applicable to you, or like beautiful story, like whatever it is that your package is, you can have this amazing package, but if it's not going into a real person's hands, it doesn't mean diddly squat. Right. So I think a lot of people are, it's like the spray and pray method where they're like, oh, I'm feeling really productive because I'm behind my computer and I'm sending out like 100 resumes a day and I'm going on to LinkedIn and pressing apply now and like, oh, but that's not, I think it feels productive. It has the illusion of being productive, but I think it's actually very unproductive most of the time because you have a lot of like, you know, auto responses, auto rejects. I mean, I'm just amazed at just how impersonal it's become in the recruiting world out there, which I know is just, I mean, it's kind of like a function of necessity out there, but it's also just like so dehumanizing and I hate it. But I think it's like really bringing the humanity back into it because it's like, what is a company? A company is a bunch of people. Who hires people into a company? It's people. So I think just like keeping that in mind, like making it less of like this faceless machine that feels scary and more about like, who are the people there that I know, or who do I know that know the people there where I can get a warm intro and like make that intro like really short and sweet. And it's like easy to find your stuff. Like for God's sakes, like put your password portfolio into that, into that outreach. Just, you know, it's like all these little tiny touch points that make the experience of you what it is. And just make sure that's really streamlined and strong and targeted. You're putting it in the right hands. You're asking people for help. Like, hey, like I see that you know somebody at, you know, Duolingo. Like, hey, could you, you know, I saw they have the senior product designer spot open or a director of product spot open. Here's my materials. Could you pass this along to this person? And I'm going to write a little note to this person with my stuff. Can you just pass that along? So making it really easy for that person to introduce you. Because I think it's all about the introductions. Like it always has been. But I think in this particular market, it's even more so because there's so much signal to noise, right? There's so much. It's like, how do you break through? It's by getting to a real person. I'm just going to get on my little soapbox about that because it's so true.
It definitely helps. I mean, I'll be honest too. I really think great work can do a lot of talking too in terms of like a really well-crafted portfolio. I've definitely got a biased lens right this second because I would say 95% of what I'm working on has a visual need as well. Even as a product designer, it's very end-to-end. Fidelity matters. It's not just UX, but it's also the UI. And that I find with just about every company that I work with, that's their starting point. Because if the visual fidelity is not there in that initial landing on that web page or that Figma deck or whatever it might be, if it's not clear straight away, the rest doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you spike in this area or that area or how robust your research methodology is. If you are not that, if you don't have the visual prowess, then that company can't make it work. And that's just the nature of a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right this second. But I see a lot of people lose points just for poor choices there or old portfolios. And it's wild how some designers naturally just love to make those portfolios, love to work on their website, naturally want to work on it, great, good for them. Others put in the energy and the effort, get it up to speed, get going on it, and it just does all the talking. And I'm talking about lots of designers specifically that has worked at companies that you and I have never heard of, that aren't household names, you know, that we don't necessarily know. But sometimes you land on these sites and you're like, oh, okay, I see it. And I watched head of design after head of design go, oh, great, we'd love to speak to so-and-so. And that work just did all that talking for them. And it's just not losing points the same way you're saying don't lose points for not having your password on there, not having your website. Like some of these visual parts as well, you've got really full control over the way you present your work. And yeah, it really does matter. So yeah, I find that to be the biggest signal for myself, and only because it's the first and highest gate that 90% of companies start with on my desk. They just start there.
Right. You have to have both pieces, right? It's like you have to have the great work that you then want to get into the front of the right people. If you don't have the great work, but you're getting in front of the right people, maybe something could happen. But if you don't have that to begin with, it's going to be a tougher road. But if you have the great work and you're not getting in front of the right people, that's also a tough road too. So it's really those two things really have to work.
Yeah, it's not easy, that's for sure. But I do think that's the beauty and the power of design sometimes too. You know, all those other skill sets out there that have to just rely on a resume. You know, if that doesn't land, it doesn't land. But at least with design, you've got this ability to convince somehow and sway opinion just through showing your work too.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I see a quick question here from Leslie that I think we could rip through really quick. As recruiters, how do you best field for designers that can do 0 to 1 and or complex systems? I've worked on both, but getting that across in a snappy way that someone can digest in 10 seconds. They look at your stuff, any insights there? If I think about a portfolio and then looking at a couple of case studies and what I'm going to learn from that case study, typical format might be, you know, you've got a thumbnail, you've got a quick title, what am I about to click on? Boom, tell me right there. 0 to 1 product that went, you know, scaled to 3 million ARR and, you know, whatever. Super snappy. A 0 to 1 product. Great. Complex backend system, you know, integrating 600,000 data points into, you know, whatever. Oh, okay. That sounds quite complex. I'll go have a look at that. So you guide the user through some of your content design as well. I think that's a really snappy way to do it as well. Obviously, once they get into that case study, you're still guiding them and leading them and, you know, sharing the certain keywords like that to guide that viewer. But I think certain captions can be a really quick, easy way to just go, oh, that's what that work is.
And it's also go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to tack on to that. I think it's also how you're prioritizing your work too, like what you're choosing to show first. So if you do complex work and that's the kind of work that you want to do, then start with that. If you do that kind of work, but you also do like marketing websites and landing pages, don't start with that if this is the kind of job that you want.
Yeah, curate. Big time.
Yeah. I was just going to say on LinkedIn, you can, you know, really work on your title. I've been seeing a lot of really cool ones. I think there was like a trend of like making a joke, doing something funny, you know, like dog walking ninja, I don't know, something, but that's not really helping. It could be like the last part of it. But if you are a 0 to 1, you know, mobile designer, and then you've had successful in the App Store, like put that in your title, put it in your about section, like open up, say that, you know, on my 0 to 1, like put that. But I mean, I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. If you have like a paragraph that you're just like, oh, I want to say all this stuff, like how to condense this, ask it. It will help you. Say I need 150 characters, whatever tweet is, include my website and, you know, pitch me or something like that. And that does help.
That's a great tip. Yeah, those tools are out there. They're free to use. I'm yet to take them up, but yeah, that is a really good tip. There's a lot of simple help there to summarize some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helps, Leslie.
Yeah. Cool. I've got somebody, a LinkedIn user. I'm a matrixed in-house designer what does matrixed mean? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Do you guys know what that means? Or do you want to put that
I
in
would
the chat?
assume working across multiple different pods, maybe, or when I think about a matrix, it's usually more of a skills matrix internally, a designer that has skills in these areas, these areas, these areas. And
Yeah.
that's a skills matrix. That's normally what I.
Okay. Well, LinkedIn user, whoever you are, if you want to put in the chat what matrixed means to you, that'd be great. But I'm just going to finish the question. I'm a matrix in-house designer. I've been in my current role long enough to see my shelved work come back to life in some ways. I'm doing more strategy and service design than interaction and UX design work. Is there a market for that?
I think there is. Yeah, there's always a need for that sort of stuff. I think America in general is still catching up on what service design even is. Working multiple products and services at the company. There you go. Yeah, I think there's a ton of roles in that space, but I think it's about adapting your language and your vernacular as well to how companies are thinking about it, how they're viewing it, how they may be integrating those skill sets into a broader team. Not all companies get it. Some companies need service design, but no one there does it. I'd be looking for more signals around which companies actually get what service design is too.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a Euro thing,
Yeah. You're doing strategy though. I think a lot of companies are looking for people who are strategic, who can lead, who I think that's like part of, right, like hands-on and leadership sort of. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of early companies looking at strategy. So if you are like searching for roles, I think like that is definitely needed for sure. They want to know like why you make your decisions, and it's back to your storytelling capabilities, like how you set up your case studies, right, and how you get it across, like not too many words, just enough, and it's engaging and entertaining, and people can see metrics, outcomes, and you discuss the strategy behind it, sort of why you made these decisions. I think companies will really, that's what they want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm looking at this question a slightly different way. I'm thinking, are there more like just pure strategy and service designer roles out there where like that's your whole role? So I think, Erica, to your point, I think absolutely. Like if you're an interaction designer or a UX product designer, I think strategy is something that a lot of companies are looking for as a part of that role. I'm going to go out maybe on a little bit of a limb and say that I think as far as like strategy roles and service design roles, or a combination of the two, I'm seeing a real decline in those out in the market. Maybe that's just kind of the luck of the draw. It's like we have a microcosm of the jobs and the companies that we work with. So maybe it's just not a representative whole of everything that's out there. So please take this with a giant grain of salt. But, I think as far as the stuff that we tend to get in, it really does tend to focus on screen design when it comes to design. It could be something full stack, like what you were describing, Jared, where it's like, the visual has to be super spot on, but you have to have all the UX thinking behind it. Or maybe something that might be like a little more UX-y focused. You can use a design system to fill in the blanks with visual. Like you don't have to come out of visual. I'm seeing a real big kind of the percentage of jobs that we're working on, like that seems to be the large percentage. So I would say to you, LinkedIn user, that depending on what your situation is, like, are you really needing to work like right now? Like you're really kind of like hungry for a job right now. You might want to lead with that interaction UX design work. I think you'll have more opportunities out there. But certainly I think keeping your strategy and service design as a part of that, like I wouldn't take that out of your portfolio or take that out of your resume, because I think that just creates like a really beautiful, like well-rounded persona, really. But that's just my take on it. I less strategy service design out there in the market from what I'm seeing, definitely more design. Are you guys seeing the same, or what do you guys think?
I don't really work with like large companies who need design. I think I've been stuck in the seed stealth stage with founding product designers constantly. So they don't even know what strategy and service design means. It's not even something that comes across their faces or their plate. But I also I would say too, you have to sort of do like a self exercise and decide like if that's stuff that you really like. There are roles out there. I would say they're probably more strategy focused. And I haven't done a service design search. But I have been working with a coaching client who is in this kind of like research type space, UX strategy research. I don't know. And there are roles. They might be more contract. I'm not sure exactly if it's like totally full time, but it's not really a background that I play in. I'm sorry, I'm not more helpful.
I used to do service design stuff, but it's pretty niche. I'm not surprised that there isn't a lot of stuff out there. Like, I felt like it was very, like, we helped Fjord, like in their early days, grow in America. And like, that was all about service design because it was like a Finnish company. So I felt like it was kind of a European sensibility to have service design. And then it came over to the States. And I think of service design as being like either service design where you're designing, maybe it's like customer journey maps and emotional maps and things like that. Maybe you're designing some screens, or then the other flavor is like a really research heavy service designer. And I'm also seeing just like a decline at research roles. I mean, we did place like a pretty seasoned research director a couple months ago, so they're not completely off the roster. But that's kind of what I've seen with service design, but it's not really.
I think it's been a day. Like I think service, like design operations, like research, those were pretty big back in 2021 still. And I think since we were like really in the toilet the last 2 years and hopefully going up from here, and it's an opportunity for them to come back a little bit more. But I do still think that it's research, service design, larger companies, larger teams.
Yeah. I mean, hey, who knows what 2 years is going to bring, right? Like with AI, like there might be jobs we don't even know exist now, right? So I think we're just going to see ebbs and flows as we have through all the years about types of jobs, what skills are really saleable, all that kind of stuff. So,
all right. Here's a LinkedIn popular one, I think. Collective thoughts, the open to work banner. What do we think? I don't mind.
Oh,
I don't care. Sandy, it's cool.
I love it. Helpful.
Sure, why not? It's no big deal.
I've learned all about open to work banner.
What is there to learn about it?
Someone else posted about it.
Okay.
That's like some recruiters who have LinkedIn Recruiter can't see it actually. It's only a public banner. So they don't know that. So LinkedIn Recruiter is how most recruiters find you. But there are other people search platforms that have come out of the last couple of years. You can see like if you've turned on open to work or like what types of roles you're looking for. But like if I don't have LinkedIn Recruiter, I can't see that. Just look at your page with a normal recruiting profile. But I can then see that you have an open to work banner. Yay for me. So I think that's probably the difference is that like if you have Recruiter, you can see if they've turned it on or not, or like that's looking at. And then if you don't have Recruiter, we can see the image. But I do know that you can also, you can change your image. So you can almost kind of put a banner on your photo. So then all people see it because then it's like embedded in your photo.
Yeah,
that's
the photo.
I like that.
Yeah. You can either do a green one or you can do a pink one, whatever color you want. I do know someone that I was just working with who did photo, add their own banner they made to it. I think it's helpful. I don't see a problem with it. And you can also like turn on and off. And I think that toggling it on and off, kind of like toggling on and off if you're open to work, also kind of like spits you out back into like maybe the top of the funnel or something. Lots of LinkedIn tricks if you just look for them.
We're going for that. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's enough people out there that that have the banner, and are using it. It shouldn't be a stigma in any way. It just is what it is. You are open to work. It's no big deal. It can be similar when you see someone that's saying that they're currently working somewhere. And then you connect with them. They go, I finished up there a year ago. You're like, oh, okay. So you're not currently working there. Like, we all have to be detectives a little bit with LinkedIn and, people share what they want to share. They don't share what they want to share. I don't really see anything of it as a negative. It's just a starting point to start a conversation potentially. if you are in fact open to work and looking for work, maybe it is a helpful beacon to sort of spotlight yourself, or to at least give a signal to anyone that was maybe on the fence, like, oh, this person looks good, I wonder if they're available, or maybe if they're working right now, maybe they're not, maybe I won't reach out. It's like, at least you're signaling to them, hey, I am open, just reach out. So I think the pros outweigh the cons in some way. I can see why people might think it's, there's a stigma attached to it, but I don't think enough of one to hinder your possible chances of achieving your goal of finding work. Don't worry about that. I don't think it's going to stop you.
I like that when you said from the recruiter perspective, like, oh, should we reach out or not? We're not sure. Because it's like every single person we reach out to, it's going to take a certain amount of time, right? Like we have to be really efficient with our time. If I see that somebody's been in their current role for a year or less, I'm probably not going to reach out, because I figure like, okay, they're probably like making inroads or doing their thing. Like they're probably not ready to move. If I see an open to work banner, oh, great. Then I have like the green light to go, like
carte blanche,
go and hit you up. There's also something, I'm not sure if this is part of the open to work banner, but there is some functionality in some people's LinkedIn profiles that says looking for roles such as, have you guys seen that? It's like a little rectangle, like maybe underneath their banner and their title. And I find that to be really helpful, because sometimes if you're like in a lead manager staff, it's all kind of a little bit like zhuzhy, squidgy, and like maybe the, did you like that, Erica? A little zhuzhy, squidgy. Then it can really help. It can help the person know what they can reach out to you for. Or like I was repping a candidate who had I think he had a staff title, like his most current title, but I knew talking with him, he was open to senior, if like the comp would match up, he was open to senior. Like he wasn't picky about title or like what level he was in the company. And so I think he actually changed his title, not his title in his job, but like his LinkedIn, like, like your just self-description. I think he said like staff/lead/senior product designer, which is a great signal, because it's like, ooh, I can contact you for any of those titles. I thought that was great.
I think it's especially helpful for people who are directors and who like you might not think want to go down to Udacity. Because I think now I can't imagine many people putting on multiple product designer titles, because some companies call it product designer, but they're only the only product designer, right? So I think it's helpful if you reach out to like a C-suite or a P, like, you know what, fuck it, like I want to just be an IC right now or something, or I want to travel, or I want to freelance, or but that's my thought.
Thanks for sharing. We have a few other questions, a few compliments. Always handy. I really appreciate everyone that comments in here too, and especially just sharing your thoughts and sharing your own insights. Again, reminder, like, connect with each other or touch base after this if you want. You're all a community that's, obviously got a shared interest. So it's always nice to come together here. Super handy.
I know. And Shane has a little comment to what we just were talking about. You can turn on open to work for recruiters only to see, or for everyone to see. So that's like it sounds like that's a
toggle
thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice.
For everyone, is it like companies, like your company can see, right?
Well, if it's embedded on your image, then everyone would see it. It's on your image. It's on your photo.
I love that idea. That's really brilliant. That's like a way to hack the system. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's how it originally was. Yeah.
Right. Kelly Robinson. Oh, I like this thought-provoking question, Kelly. Who are the design leaders who've made an impression on you, and why? Erica, I like your response.
I don't have an answer.
Wait, a good impression or a bad impression?
Right. She didn't specify.
Which is a longer list.
I
have a story. I have a story. This is from a design leader that I've known for a long time. We've worked with him at 6 different companies. And at our first company, our first time out of the gates with him, we had a candidate who was like getting an offer from him. Like everything was going hunky-dory, everything's great. And then it came out at the very end that he had not been truthful about where he had been working, or that he said he was still working, but he actually had been laid off. And so it was this lie that basically came out at the end, like right when this offer was going through. And so Rebecca, my business partner, and I were just kind of like, well, that's it. I guess that's not happening. Like, it would have been totally like understandable and probably probable that they would have revoked the offer. But instead, this design leader was like, I couldn't believe it. I was so impressed and shocked. He was like, what was wrong with me? Or like, what was I doing wrong that he felt that he couldn't be honest with me and tell me that? And I was like, really? Like, you're gonna do that on yourself? It was like so incredible and so generous. And he was just like, and the guy who was going to get the offer just felt horrible about it. He was like, oh my God, did I mess this up? Like, he was just scared. He was just scared to tell the truth because he thought that would actually bar him from getting the role. He thought he'd be a less attractive candidate. This is back when times were a little, lusher. So, now everybody's laid off. It's not a problem. So many great people are laid off. It's like a badge of honor now,
No. Yeah.
But
amazing.
Yeah, but the offer went through and he did a great job there. He was just a really star employee.
That's excellent.
And it was just great.
Really appreciate an empathetic design leader. We've had some amazing ones on the show. Melissa Collins, I think, really empathetic design leader, really looks after her people and teaches people amazing skills. Yeah, a lot of time for her. Mo over at Parachute Health, I think, is a phenomenal empathetic design leader. Some of the best tenure in the game, people that have stayed at that company that have all been promoted over the years. Alison Medlin is an exceptional empathetic design leader, I think, as well. They really stand out in my mind as great design leaders. I think a couple of guys I know over another place, Engine, David McCullough and OJ Horning, exceptional design leaders driving such a bar for craft, doing such exceptionally high bar for design and for craft, and attracting some designers to, that team that earlier on you didn't really know what they were and what they were doing, but their leadership pulled people in, and now you see where they are and where their vision has taken them is pretty wild. So visionary leaders that can attract great designers and help communicate that vision to a designer and really get people on board to their mission to then go on and grow, I think is phenomenal. So I love that. I'm thinking back to a Wild Dribble conference I went to like 5 years ago and saw David Carson speak. I don't know if you would call him a design leader per se, but an absolutely iconic graphic designer that just bucks the trends, doesn't do status quo, like works with some of the biggest brands in the world, and just is like, oh, here's what I did, and they don't like it, and he goes, okay, sorry. Doesn't care, like, that's it. Work with me, don't work with me. I'll be busy surfing. Then, I just thought it was amazing. Such a great attitude, such cool guy. So there's a good list there of a lot of people. So I quickly rattled those off because I wanted to get them out.
Yeah. I'm also thinking like Mark Sherrill. I think at Easy Cater right now. He's been to tons of great places. Jay Harlow. From Clover and now currently at JustWorks. Melissa Collins is a great call out. Missy Kelly over at Bubble. I feel like something that really combines all these great leaders in my mind is that they're coming at it with such an empathetic, interested, and engaged mindset, both in terms of the hiring team, but also in working with us too. It's like they're great with feedback. They understand like the process is going to work well when they're involved and they're giving us the information that we need to like be able to communicate with the candidate or keep somebody warm or get them interested and engaged. It's like those are the types of design leaders that make this job not only just so much easier, but just like great, just like really pleasant, and you look forward to going to work every day, Yeah.
Yeah, I
Great
love
list,
that.
guys.
Okay.
What'd you say, Erica?
It's a great list. I honestly am really bad at thinking of top in terms of names, but I think you hit some good ones.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you got me thinking, Kelly, to keep more of a mental list of these things and take note of great designers that make an impression and why. I love that. It's a really excellent question, and we should all take note of more of that. Be aware of it. Be hip to it. Can I ping Leslie's question up here real quick because I think it's good. We can probably rip through it quickly in time. Lead, senior, staff, principal. There is overlap in the JD depending on the company, and some companies only use senior. Is it more about the skills and what you've actually done, or the title, or do both matter? I think you nailed it real quick there, Leslie, where it is the skills. I think, there is no industry standard. Hopefully most companies, if they don't have one yet, they're working towards some sort of matrix about what it means to be a certain level. And if you are at one level, how might you get to the next? What experience do you need to display? What behaviors, what hard skills, everything like that. And that's where I think you strip away that title and you start looking under the hood, like, what does it mean to be this level? That's where you can start to really, I guess, map across companies, because otherwise, the titles just don't always line up, but the skills will. And sometimes I find the salary does more talking than the title.
Totally. I think one thing I would say is work with a lot of people with, websites, obviously, and decks where they title themselves, right? And I always say to title yourself with the job you want. But at the same time, instead of giving yourself like lead product designer, staff designer, or whatever, you could just say like product design leadership, or like more of the subject versus the title necessarily. Especially, it depends on like obviously who you're applying to. If it's a founding product designer role, I would still just like product design leader probably as your title, not like founding product designer necessarily. But yeah, I always say to title yourself for the role you want. Senior product designer, if you are currently a principal, is hard to go. We're gonna do our due diligence. We're gonna do a little detective work. We're gonna look at your resume, your LinkedIn. We're gonna be like, oh wow, that's honestly, it's so small that we probably won't even really like think about it. But if you don't know how to, I guess, like title yourself, I'd really just say like product design leader or something like that. You can be more generic.
Yeah, or even more vague, like product design.
Yeah, exactly.
UX design, just not even a title. Yeah.
Product design, research, strategy. Name what you.
Yeah, and hi, Chris Novak. Hello, nice to have you back. Chris is sharing a good hiring process will figure out if their candidate is different than the title they're hiring for and will adjust up accordingly. Right. So it's like, I think what you're saying, Chris, is that the company is like, oh, here we have this senior designer position open, but they're actually looking for a lead. And then they understand, like, through meeting people, maybe working with a recruiter like us, oh, actually, this is really more of a lead. So the title needs to come up, hopefully the money too, unless the money was already at the lead level. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and we're out of time. Wow.
We did it. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so nice to see everyone. Ryan, thanks for the nice little goodbye note. Great as always, friends. See you at the next one. Yeah.
Should we get a guest for our next one? Let's get a guest.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Nick could do it then. We'll see. But we'll be back in 2 weeks. Yep. So what date is that? That is the 5th of March.
Be there or be square.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye. Bye.